Well, hello, I'm here with Doug. It is Tuesday, April 1, 2025, and we'll talk about the Resistance Lab and other things. But I'll just start with that. I've been going to the Tesla takedown protests, and I have noticed that the people there don't really know how to do this. And Pramila Jayapal in Congress has noticed this too and is now having trainings modeled after Martin Luther King's nonviolent civil resistance trainings, which I think has to happen. It's been decades since large numbers of Americans have had to protest the government the way they did in the civil rights protests. And now that we're back to that, people need to learn how to do it. Um, I know the thing I'd like to see is I'd like to stop people attacking individual drivers of Teslas. There was one guy there yelling at them, and several of us tried to convince him that was a bad idea to no effect. But anyway, I think AOC explained this best. If we attack other citizens, we're doing the work of the oligarchs for them. They want to divide us and have us fight among ourselves. It is a mistake to blame random Tesla owners for what Elon Musk is doing. Plenty of people bought a car long ago and they're stuck with it and they can't reasonably sell it. Anyway, it's much easier to attack somebody weak at your own level than to actually aim your complaints at the people who need to hear them. Anyway,
Yeah, if you attack a driver,
yeah,
uh, you're not likely to convince them.
of course.
You're more likely to make them an enemy of yours and
Yes,
your
you are.
cause.
Yes, you are. And
Yeah,
even people who vote Republican, there's no point yelling at them and abusing them. They're essentially all victims too. They're people who've been swindled into voting for something that is not to their benefit. And
yeah,
it doesn't help to treat them like the enemy. They're just another victim. Uh, just like, when people call you on the phone trying to swindle you from other countries, it's important to realize, even if you might get mad at them, they're typically slaves, victims, trapped, forced to be in a call center, forced to do this, who don't want to do it.
right. Yeah,
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 this is the trick, been a trick forever, that people actually in power move other people like chess pieces to go up and fight and suffer, and you can't even see the actual source of the problem.
right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah,
Anyway, it's getting really bad. The Nazis are now coming for college professors and college students. And the big thing this week was a cryptographic professor at Indiana University was disappeared. He's gone. Nobody knows what happened. The college wiped his profile and all information about him off the website with no explanation, and he's gone. The Register put an article out today saying he apparently has taken a job in Singapore, and that's why they've wiped all this up. It doesn't explain anything because the semester is on. He has classes. He just disappeared. Uh, and why in the world would you erase all the information from his website to pretend he never existed? That's crazy stuff. And this is like what they've done to several students. They just show up and snatch people, sometimes with masked people who do not identify themselves as police, and just disappear them where nobody can find them. And this is how you create a reign of terror. I mean, if this is actually a state ruled by laws, like it used to be, then you go to someone with something like a court order. If you arrest them, you charge them with something. You give them a chance to call like a lawyer or their family or something, and then people know where they are. They know what's going on. They have a chance to defend themselves. But the Trump administration, being a Nazi dictatorship, just grabs people and does it with maximum abuse and terror because they want to make people very afraid. And boy, people are afraid. There was a survey in Nature asking American scientists how many of them are considering fleeing the country, and the answer is 75%. Three Yale professors did flee to Canada already because they are high profile political science professors, which probably correctly feel like they're next in line for the Trump regime to wipe them out. I'm a trivial, unimportant guy. They'll never get around to me. They'll deport a million professors before me, but there's a lot of people that have high profile. And the American Association of University Professors wrote a letter to Indiana University saying, hey, there's this thing called due process. You can't take tenured professors and just erase them like they never existed without any sign of due process. You need to accuse them of something and have some kind of hearing where they get some chance to defend themselves, or at least explain what's going on.
Yeah.
And and Al, Al Ali Reza Daruti is one of the Iranian students that was erased from Alabama, kidnapped and just removed. We can't just ignore this stuff. And like I say, there's a lot of articles about this. And also international people who do international travel, if they are Americans and then travel out of the country, they've discovered they may not be able to get back. Um, and so at international academic conferences, one sees an interesting trend. American participants are traveling with burner phones or minimalist laptops because if they were to try to pass through a border coming back into America, the border agents can search your devices, and if they find that you have dared to criticize Trump, then they will arrest you and not let you back in. So it really is complete madness. And people who are on green cards in America are deciding they do not dare to make a trip home anymore because the same token, they won't let you back in the country. Um, so it's,
Right.
and
Yeah.
I read an article from a trans person there's now a group of queer and trans people going and getting guns and learning how to shoot guns. And it had a very thoughtful article saying, I'm a nonviolent guy, and I'm aware of the fact that a gun usually makes you less safe, but more and more of us are thinking we really need to have a gun to defend ourselves. And it's and I say we're coming into a dark time, and that's why I think we need nonviolent civil resistance training because the violence is not far off. And we're following exactly down the 1930s Nazi platform. I remember telling my people 6 months ago that they would come after the college professors, and then after the college professors, they'll come for the Jews. And Elon Musk is already saying when people protest his political things, he says, "Oh, these people are paid by Soros." So he'll be the source of anti-Semitism. And I thought it would be within a year they'd go after the Jews. I'm thinking at this rate it'll probably be within another month they'll go after the Jews. Anyway, it's things are getting ridiculous and getting bad really fast. Anyway,
Yeah. Interesting. Why is he linking this to Soros?
that is the MAGA explanation for everything.
Ah,
They've explained
okay.
that this is when they hold Republican rallies. All the people there are screaming and yelling at them and say, "Don't cut our Social Security." And the official MAGA explanation for this is that those people are all paid agents of Soros. They've driven buses full of people in that are really Democrats to pretend to be Republicans at their rally, which is
I see.
ridiculous. But that's their official explanation. And the more extreme MAGA types have been promoting this publicly. Of course, with Elon Musk being at the top of it.
Yeah, and nobody has ever seen busloads of people being driven.
No, nobody seems to be paying me. I haven't noticed anybody paying me to go to these protests.
No, no, but what I mean is,
Yeah,
the claim is that
yeah.
busloads of people have been driven, but there are
Well,
no
yeah,
pictures.
that's right. No, there's no way. There's no evidence
There's
of
no
any of it.
supporting evidence, is what I'm getting at.
No, there's no supporting evidence. It's obviously
Yeah,
nonsense. I mean, nobody goes to a local town hall except the local people. That's who goes there. And
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
they've been holding them even when the Republicans obey the orders of the Republican Party and refuse to show up for the town halls. People have been holding town halls and just putting up a cardboard cutout. I think it should go back to the old days when we were more a farming country, when they would put a live chicken up there to represent the candidate who chickened out. But anyway,
Yeah,
they
yeah,
they then yell at the empty chair, which I think is just as effective. I mean, the guy gets the message that we don't like what you're doing. We're not going to vote for you again if you don't shape up.
yeah, yeah. Mm.
So, of course, you and I know how much college administrators will go after you, and there's nothing but capitulation. NASA just wiped a graphic novel off their website that did have women astronauts of color, because, of course, we can't encourage that anymore. And the brands, Elon Musk has been saying he's going to sue companies who do not advertise on Twitter for participating in what he calls an illegal boycott, which is a whole new concept. I didn't know we were obligated to buy products from companies or we can be sued for the crime of not buying that product. But people have figured out they're afraid. People are capitulating in advance. Now, the reason they quit advertising on Twitter is number one, there's not enough people using Twitter. It's a total waste of your money. And number two, you'll damage your brand because you'll appear next to Nazi stuff since Elon Musk is Nazi and promotes Nazi materials all the time. And so now they say they have made a more careful risk calculation and said the brand safety risk has not gone away, but the greater risk is that a comment from Musk sends your stock price tumbling. So what we do is we buy a small amount of advertising, hoping that it will stop Musk from attacking us, but not put up enough ads that someone will notice our ads on Twitter where they shouldn't be. So they're paying a bribe, just like the universities have just agreed, like Columbia totally caved and said they're going to crush their Middle East Studies Department and end DEI and stuff on campus to please Trump so he doesn't hurt them. And the couple of legal agencies have capitulated and claimed they'll just give Trump a bunch of free legal services and stop representing anybody that he doesn't approve of in order to hopefully maintain their security clearance and access to government agencies. Whereas a couple of legal agencies have actually begun to sue and fight back, which would be nice. But so far, there's not the slightest sign of any colleges standing up or banding together or taking any principled position, which I wouldn't expect. Back to the Berkeley loyalty oath, and you and I have been in this business a long time. Colleges never protect the professors. They never stand on principle. They always seem to be run by the most craven cowards who care about nothing but money.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
It's yeah, colleges are a business, and even though they're state government funded, they're still in the business of educating people, which is a business, public or private.
yeah, I'm not sure they actually understand they're in the business of educating people. I remember a few years ago they had an official statement that the purpose of the college is to educate people, and the administrators were shocked by that. No, I think the business of the college is to get government money. And they see the government as their customer, and they think the students and professors are just these irritating pests that they haven't quite figured out how to get rid of yet.
Meaning the employees, Sam?
Well, the students and teachers, I mean, the real employees are the administrators. I mean, the purpose of the thing is to fill out administrative papers and get money from the government. And they barely remember that there's these things called classes and students and teachers. And they wonder what the hell those people are here there for. And if they could only get rid of them, because all they do is make trouble.
Yeah, well, it's simple. The students are the customers. They're the ones who are paying. The instructors are the employees. And what you're telling me is the administrators see both of those as a
Uh,
nuisance.
yes.
So,
And the students don't actually
student,
fund that much of the college. They get most of the money from
yeah,
the government. So if you
yeah.
only care financially, then, um,
Get rid of the students and the professors, you'll
yeah,
make more money.
yeah. That's kind of the point of Calbright, right? Get rid of the professors. All you need is an AI and some students, and
Yeah,
and
something like
and the
that.
students should be like dispensed of with minimum effort, so we can focus on what really matters.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, so, that'll kind of leads into my first story. If you've seen what China's leaders proclaiming.
I have not.
So China's is pushing in AI. There is we've seen with what's their AI
Deep
engine?
Seek, they got good AI.
DeepSeek.
Yeah,
Yeah, which turned out to be very effective,
yeah,
right?
yeah. They got good AI and arguably better than ours.
Yeah, for a lower price.
Yeah.
And they're full steam ahead. They're adopting it and they want to be the world's leader in AI by 2030.
If they're not
That's,
already, they're certainly close.
yeah, that's the official government statement.
Yeah.
So while China is pushing ahead and parents are pushing their kids to learn and adopt and use AI at a young age, the US is against it, so to speak, in schools. We're not
Oh yeah.
really sure
Oh,
where to go with that.
oh yeah. But they try to ban it in schools so students won't cheat. Yeah, that's.
Yeah.
I think that's counterproductive. But I do understand what they're saying. I mean, students won't learn the topic; they'll just learn to ask an AI for it. And I remember when calculators came out, there was the same issue. Should you let them have calculators in school so they don't learn how to do math by hand?
Yeah. Well, yeah. Yeah. Exactly.
And
Exactly.
it is an issue.
So,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still an issue. And, we'll see how this is going to turn out. But unfortunately, this is still an attack to a degree against our schools. If we're emptying our universities and mathematicians, cryptologists are disappearing, that's not good for us in the long run.
Well, we're defunding science in addition to
Yeah,
punishing people and forcing people. I mean, the vaccine head just quit because RFK Jr. ordered him to go out and make statements that vaccines are bad for you. Now they're diverting he's doing what he said he would do, RFK Jr. He's canceling all efforts to prevent infectious disease because he thinks we shouldn't bother with that. And
yeah.
telling people, and it's opening official investigations into whether vaccines cause autism, completely ignoring the fact that this was resolved decades ago. So this is, and that's why the head of the agency just quit and said, I can't support this anymore. This is the opposite of what I signed up for. I wanted to help make people healthy, and what we're doing is spreading lies and making them sick.
So, Sam, do you know who Watson and Crick are?
Oh yeah, discovered DNA,
Yeah, they're the ones who
double helix.
discovered the DNA,
Yeah,
double helix. And Crick, I believe, was the younger of the two who are still alive, or I'm not sure if he is now. But about 10, 12 years ago, he's the one that discovered that autism has a genetic element to it. And not all autism cases, but about 25%, 30% can be attributed to genetic sequence that's found in DNA.
I would imagine. Sure, most diseases have a genetic component.
Well, no, no,
A lot
not
of
all
them.
do.
Well, a lot of them do. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, some do, some do.
yeah.
But yeah, cancers do. You can identify, and there are other diseases that
Or
do.
heart
This,
disease, Alzheimer's, all kinds of things have genetic components.
yeah, yeah, there are genetic markers for them.
Yeah, they have not they're not completely caused by genetics, but there are people who have a predisposition towards these diseases, which is why, terms like 23andMe, I think that was the hope. I think we're not there yet, but probably in a
Yeah,
few decades, they will give you a DNA test to decide more precisely what to treat you for and what doses of drugs and stuff because people are different.
right.
Now, right now, we
Yeah,
treat them all as the same, but that's only a
yeah,
first approximation. It would be better if we could customize treatment based on your
yeah,
DNA. We're just not quite ready for that yet.
yeah. The technology's not there yet. All right. What's
Yeah.
your other? So, going to be interesting what's going to happen scientifically, in the
Well,
science world in the US, if we're have a brain drain going on.
oh, we do. And I
Yeah,
think,
I
and I
agree.
think people are fleeing the country, and the ones that aren't fleeing the country are abandoning government positions for sure. And I think university labs are losing their funding for research. So I think the next several decades of scientific research are going to be retarded in America, and China will rush ahead,
Yeah,
and
yeah, unfortunately.
we'll probably be going to China to take advanced training that you can't get here. Um, Anyway, so I did have
Yeah,
a few information security articles, much less this year. So Microsoft used AI. They have AI-powered security copilot and found 20 previously unknown vulnerabilities in Secure Boot, in Grub, U-Boot, and Barebox open source bootloaders. So that's interesting, and I'm sure Paul's Security Weekly will have a lot more to say about it tomorrow. That's his area of expertise. Works for a company trying to secure boot. And boy, secure boot is a whole lot less secure than I thought it was. There are a lot of problems with secure boot.
I
Anyway,
see.
and they surveyed AI experts and said, how many of you think we're doing the right thing, building these giant data centers like the $400 billion data center? And the answer is 86% of them said, this is a stupid idea. This is not the way to do it, to just have more and more and more GPUs, like hit it with a bigger and bigger hammer. They said, this is not going to get us to AGI, which I agree. And I think DeepSeek proved that. Using a smarter training technique is better than just building bigger and bigger piles of GPUs to throw at the problem. And
Yeah. Well, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
this is the American technique, American excess, hit it with a bigger hammer is the answer to a problem. Anyway, so Microsoft has removed bypass NRO script. I don't know if you do this. Whenever I install Windows 11, I don't want to make a Microsoft account. I want to have a local account the way we used to. Microsoft has
Right.
made this more and more difficult, and now they've removed the script that you use to prevent it, although the registry value still exists. So you can modify the registry, adding this value, and still have a local account, but they may take that away too, but they haven't taken it away yet. They've just made it harder and harder to do. Um,
So this is when you register Windows.
When you first install Windows, it's the
Yeah,
out-of-the-box
I'm sorry.
experience. Yeah. When you first
Yeah,
install
when you
Windows
first
11,
install
it'll try to
Windows
make
and
you
you
log in with a Microsoft account online.
yeah,
And if you just disconnect the network, that's often enough for it to let you make a local account. But you might also execute this command with Shift F10, where you put in a command line command to run the bypass NRO script, uh, which and there are tricks, you know. Uh, Probably another way to do it would be to make a custom installer and modify the configuration files in the installer file. But anyway, there are techniques to make custom installers of Windows, but they're making it harder and harder to avoid having a Microsoft online account. And
I
for normal
see.
consumer, of course, you do want a Microsoft online account so you can recover your stuff or something. But for many of us making test machines, it's not a good plan.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I gotcha. Yeah, you're right. You're right. So
Anyway,
you're doing yeah.
a real user would probably want to make that online account anyway, but it'd be nice to have the choice. Anyway, I just have one more that's pretty interesting. I'm during the pandemic, 5 years ago, they talked about how they couldn't issue checks, stimulus checks, because there weren't enough COBOL programmers. So I went and learned COBOL, wrote a CTF, started training it at conventions. So I said, gee, one of these days I want to learn COBOL. It's pretty fun. And a lot of people are still vigorous COBOL programmers and defend it and say it's still efficient and people are lying, are putting it down for no good reason. It is pretty interesting language and it's still alive. But anyway, Doge has declared that they are going to rebuild the entire Social Security code base and move it from COBOL to Java in a couple of months. And all the experts say that would take years to do successfully, but it shows again something that should be obvious to everyone. They have no intention of improving Social Security. The purpose of Doge is to destroy Social Security, which they're already well on the way to. People already say they're not getting their checks and they can't get any help from anybody. Um, and that is the goal. The goal of the entire Trump administration is to just destroy every aspect of the government so people will accept private people who move into private prisons, private healthcare, private everything. So they can privatize everything. Now, of course, you could argue that private systems are more efficient, but I don't think they're going to make more efficient private systems. I think they're just going to rip people off. I think the goal is to just take the federal treasury and put it in their pocket. And then, like the private prisons do, just send them off to some kind of for-profit, and the private insurance companies send you off to some group that will just steal from you.
Yeah, and as we've seen with the for-profit prison industry, that turns out to be corrupted.
Oh, yes.
And there was one case where a judge was getting kickback for every prisoner.
Sure. And
And
there's innumerable
yeah,
cases of medical insurance where they just
yeah,
refuse to pay for the medical treatment and they keep charging you premiums. You pay them and you get nothing. So
yeah,
it's just they might as well just admit they're stealing your money. They're not actually contributing anything. And that's what I would expect from private Social Security, whatever that would be.
yeah. And that's what Luigi has shot that
Yeah.
CEO, right? Of
Well, well, people imagine. So I think, in fact, he wasn't able to give any coherent explanation of why he did it. He seems like all these guys who shoot someone, he seemed to be kind of a nut. I mean, you could argue that you could have a person could be motivated by a somewhat logical analysis that these executives are blocking my people from getting health care. But, you know, just like the guy that shot at Trump, they just seem to be nuts, which is, I think, when people get mad, there's a lunatic fringe of unstable people who commit an act of violence. And they seem to be sort of incoherent, unclear on why they're doing it.
well, they have their own set of realities. Could
Yeah.
we say that?
Well, you know, it's what you'd expect. I mean, who would go do something as crazy as shoot somebody? That's probably not really going to fix the problem. It's going to ruin your life. You'd have to have a screw loose to make that decision, I think.
Well, it's a protest in a way.
Well, if you were a clear thinker, you would think of a better protest, I think.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
And that's the thing. I mean, you must be kind of self-destructive or confused to be the first person to go to violence. Now, there comes a time when you're actually at war when a large group of people commit violence in an organized way and a planned way to accomplish something. But the first couple of violent extremists that turn to violence are going to, of course, be the most unstable among you.
True. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah, like I'd say,
Exactly.
the people that are keying Teslas and setting them on fire are in the same category, in my opinion. They haven't really thought this through. They're not really doing the most logical thing, but they are responding to like an emotional anger that's in the air and expressing it sort of like a child throwing a temper tantrum. They're doing an unwise response to a problem.
Yeah, and I think this is referred to as mob violence, is it not?
Well, if a mob was doing it, I mean, right now it's just a few crazy people. If the whole mob starts doing it, then it begins
Yeah.
to approach a war. If a large enough people are all working together.
Yeah. And isn't that what Trump has labeled some of the people protesting at Elon, where they're at Tesla dealerships, as domestic terrorists?
Well, as far as I know, what Trump has said is the people that commit violence at the protests will be punished as domestic terrorists. He hasn't yet gotten down to saying the people who like stand out in front with a sign are domestic terrorists, although I think Elon would like to go there.
Yeah.
I'm watching to see when they go there because, of course, I'm one of those people. But as far as I know, of course, what will happen, though, is if somebody was to start smashing the windows and burning down a Teslas, then the cops would swoop in and arrest everybody. And you might very well get caught in the dragnet even when you weren't doing anything. Indeed, one of these students that got arrested at one of these colleges said they were just trying to walk home and there was a protest and the cops swooped in and grabbed her. And now they accuse her of being anti-Israeli and are deporting her and stuff, which I'm sure that happens.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
It happened in the
Yeah.
60s too. It happened in the 90s in Berkeley. Once you have protests where there's some degree of violence and some storming of hundreds of cops, then a bunch of innocent people get hurt in the melee.
True. Yeah. Yeah.
And when we
Here,
may very well come to that, and not for
yeah.
in the future.
And, just to be clear, Biden also used the term domestic terrorist for moms that were protesting at schools.
Oh,
And yeah, and the interesting part about this is it's just a label. It's not a crime. It's a
well,
label to group people together. There's no law against being a domestic terrorist
well, I think
specifically.
Well, I think in the Patriot Act makes a big deal out of it. You no longer have a whole bunch of rights if they accuse you of terrorism. The NSA can be involved. No, I think there's a huge legal consequence of an act being called terrorism.
But there's no punishment for it.
There certainly is a relaxation of due process against terror.
True.
You
But
lose the,
again,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. But again, you can't be convicted of being a domestic terrorist, is
Well,
my understanding.
that's true, but in practice, you could
Yeah.
just be disappeared and extradited and sent off to
True.
another country to be
Yeah.
tortured. So it's kind of worse than having a legal definition. You're kind of outside the law.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It would be better if there was some legal formal punishment where you had to have like a trial first.
Yeah, and so what happens is it's the underlying crime that somebody commits. So you could be labeled domestic terrorist, um, meaning that your actions are along in alignment with domestic terrorism, where you're blowing up cars or burning dealerships, things along those lines. But the underlying crime is still fire or arson.
It could be, but of course, in the modern Trump regime, they don't care about the court orders or the laws or anything.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So
Well,
it's all this is like a relic of an ancient age when people cared about the law. In reality, we're just dealing with a bunch of lunatics here. And of course, remember, look at all the ones of January 6th that got pardoned. It's the law doesn't seem to be related to reality in America much anymore.
yeah. Well, look at the judge who was pardoned for the cash for kids who was putting him in jail.
Right, right. And
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know why the president has pardon power. I really think we need to revoke it. It seems to be doing nothing good that I can think of in the last several decades. It just seems to be basically putting the president outside the law for no apparent reason.
Yeah. Sam, you have another one?
Nope, that's it.
All right, I have one.
Yeah.
Flashback. What company was very popular amongst file sharing or song sharing about
Oh yeah,
22,
yeah.
25 years ago?
That was Napster, right? Was the first one.
Napster.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw
You know,
somebody wants to bring it back. Like, why? But anyway,
well, it turns out that Napster was sold. At least the name Napster had some value. I think it was, if I remember correctly, $600 million. It was NFT, so the brand Napster has some value to it. Anyway, around 2000, when the NFTs were popular, there were NFT Napsters. I don't know that anybody made any
wait,
money.
there were
I don't know
NF
that anybody cared.
wait,
But now,
NFTs in 2000? There weren't any NFTs in
no,
2000.
no, in 2010, pardon me,
2010. Okay.
2010, 11, somewhere when NFTs were
I
popular.
thought that was 2020 when NFTs were popular.
Was it? Yeah,
They
well,
come at the
yeah,
blockchain. They come after Ethereum. I think they more like 2020 is when
yeah,
NFTs are
okay,
popular.
okay. I stand corrected.
Yeah.
So, that's what, 15 years or so after Napster?
Yeah, a long time after Napster.
Yeah, a long time. So, I'd argue that failed. I never heard Napster NFTs. Anyway,
No,
what
I
are they
had never
coming
heard of
back?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, what are they coming back as and being rebranded as? What's
Restaurant.
popular right now? What is everybody buying? When you buy a candy bar, it's what enabled? When you buy a new car, it's what enabled?
Well, I guess I mean,
AI. Your
hey,
clothing is AI enabled.
it is. There's AI in your clothes. How could there?
Yes.
There's not even a
Sam,
processor in your
Sam,
clothes. There's a RFID tag maybe, but there's no
Sam,
processor in your
Sam.
clothes.
You're letting the facts get in the way of the
Oh,
fun of the
oh,
issues.
okay.
Everything right now is AI enabled. You can get AI food. I mean, we're putting AI on everything. Anyway, Napster is coming back as an AI company. And yeah, I'm kind of
Well,
joking. I'm kind of joking because I've seen AI
yeah.
vitamins. I've seen
Well,
meaning AI designed
okay, AI design.
vitamins or
Now,
yeah.
Napster could actually use AI to like recommend your next song or something the way Amazon does. That's not totally stupid.
Yeah, I don't know what they're what I don't know how Napster is being used. I don't know what product they're being sold, but yeah, you're right.
Is it still
I could
pirated music? I mean, that's what it used to be, and I guess it could be again.
it could be a competition to Spotify with using AI, but
Yeah.
isn't it Spotify already doing that? Everybody's doing
Well, sure.
AI.
It'd just be an attempt to use that brand to like sell more music, I suppose.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to keep an eye on that. I don't give it much hope, but you never know.
Well, the original one was popular because it was pirated and free,
Yeah,
but I think people might have forgot that by now. They might just have some dim memory. Hey, I used to listen to Napster and that was great. If there was another Napster, that would be nice. I don't know.
yeah. I mean, you have to admit, I think even though were you pirating software? I don't know.
In
That's a
Napster,
legally
Napster was certainly pirating music. I mean, that's how they got shut down, I think.
no. Napster was only a database of where to locate pirated
Oh, so
music.
it's like the Pirate Bay. They claimed that they weren't exactly liable.
Right. They didn't have a database of music. They just had pointers of where you could get it.
Did that work in court? I know they got sued.
No, of course not.
Yeah, yeah,
That's why they're gone.
yeah. That's what I thought. Yeah, they were the first one
But
that
the
really
but
got
the
crushed for
but the
music
defense
piracy.
was yeah, the defense was we don't have any copyrighted material.
I don't
We just
sell. Yeah, we sell
yeah,
guns. We don't sell bullets. We have nothing to do with this.
yeah, yeah, or we sell the bullets, not the guns.
Yeah, yeah.
So, if somebody uses a gun to commit a crime, don't blame us.
That does
Um,
seem
it
to work in court, but not the Napster.
yeah, but it's not even it's not even it's more like a telephone book, you know?
Yeah.
Because even if you're using the gun and the bullet analogy,
Mhm.
Napster isn't selling guns or bullets. They just tell you where you can find them.
Yeah, to some extent, Google does too. That's why,
Yeah,
it's not
yeah.
entirely stupid to hope that you could win in court with that, but they didn't.
Yeah. So, this was the record industry, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure the technicality of why they lost out, but, they did.
Yeah, I come across this all the time. People are always telling me Cloudflare is a terrible company because they support all these bad websites. Like, well, yeah, so does Verizon. You have an internet connection and they deliver that terrible website to you instead of censoring the web. It's,
Yeah.
but this
Yeah.
argument will never stop. Because of
Yeah.
course
Yeah.
people want to take down a site and they try to find some place to take it down. And in principle, you could take it down at any of these stages. Your ISP could be filtering the traffic. Yeah, everybody could be filtering the traffic. So
Yeah.
it's just
So,
an
Sam,
arbitrary. Yeah.
yeah, let me move on. I got one other topic
Yeah.
for you. Were you here in the 1980s, 85 in that range?
I imagine.
No, no, I mean, were you in the Bay Area?
I moved to San Francisco in '86, I think.
Yeah, so you might not know this, but do you remember Eric Estrada? Does that
I
name
think I,
ring a
s-
bell with
no,
you?
I think I've had students with that name. That's all I know.
Okay. So Eric Estrada was on a TV show called Chips that was very popular in I think the late 70s, kind of mid 70s, rolling into the 80s.
Which is the California Highway Patrol.
Yeah, yeah. It
Okay.
was a TV show. It gave a positive image to law or California Highway Patrol.
Yeah.
And it's kind of interesting. I don't know if you remember Dragnet, that was in the 60s, and there was Medical Center and there was Emergency. There
And the
was
one
kind
that
of a
started it all,
genre.
that one guy that started it all with the Friday. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
Was
That
that
was,
Dragnet? No, that was,
yeah, Jack Webb was his name. I can't
yeah. He
remember.
started all these cop shows. He was the first one.
Yeah, actually, he did that on radio. Dragnet
Yeah.
goes back to the radio days.
Yeah.
Anyway, Eric Estrada, we're kind of going off, was the spokesperson for, low cost infomercial TV that was selling real estate in the area of California that they called California Pines. And you can see the videos on YouTube of the commercials where he was, hawking California Pines. And you could get a free round trip airfare. And I'm not sure because you couldn't fly to California Pines. But I grew up in the Bay Area and I had to have seen that show at least 100 times. I mean, that infomercial,
Hmm.
a little 60-second commercial. I had to see that at least 100 times, if not more. Anybody who is in the Bay Area who watched not one of the big networks, but the independent stations, you saw that thing over and over and over and over again. Now they claim it was low crime. You were buying an acre of land, and you could build your beautiful home there, and there'd be like a community center, and there was a lake there where you could fish and go boating and have all kinds of fun and be in the wilderness, right? So they had 15,000 home sites. I have no idea how many they sold. But somebody posted on social media that one of the home sites is up for sale for $5,000. And people are saying $5,000 for an acre of land in California? That's got to be a phenomenal deal. The problem is it's not selling. And if you look at where it's in the very northeast corner of California. And I think it's about a 5, 6 hour drive from the Bay Area. Turns out that maybe about 50 people actually did build homes up there. The community center has been kind of ransacked. The playground isn't much anymore. It looks like Chernobyl, like the playgrounds you've seen in Chernobyl. And
Yeah.
the lake that they were promoting turned out to be a watering hole for cattle,
Yeah.
or at least that's what it's turned into.
Yeah. It
So,
reminds me of like Crypto Island they were going to have a few years ago. There's a bunch of people. In fact, there's a recent one. supposed to be about an hour north of San Francisco where they're going to make their own town and all the rich oligarchs will live there. And
Oh no, that's
there's a new one.
Fairfield. Yeah, by
There's a
yeah.
new one supposed to spring up for
Oh,
the,
another one?
oh, there's a new one designed by, sort of the far right people like Peter Thiel, where they're going to make like a kingdom and rule it with an iron fist. And
Uh,
and all the rich tech bros will live there from Silicon Valley and they'll make their own laws and everything.
so that's
This keeps
kind of
happening over and over.
yeah, it sounds kind of like Epcot World or Epcot and where Disney designed the neighborhoods.
Yeah, the part where they claim to be exempt from all laws and not have to pay taxes is usually where it begins to fall down.
Yeah.
And then, of course, when they actually discover that you have to, in fact, find some water somewhere and install sewer systems and stuff, and there's a reason why those empty areas have not been populated by houses because you can't do that.
Yeah, so it turns out that's exactly what the issue was
Yeah,
with California pines. It's all rock, so you can't put in septic tank. There's no electricity
there's no
and
water.
there's no
Yeah,
water.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
There's a reason why the desert is just sitting there. Gee, I could put something great on there. I say, well, you could, but there won't be any water. So exactly how great is it going to be?
Yeah. So back in the late 1800s, give or take, when vaudeville and it was very popular, theater was popular. There was an actor in San Francisco or a performer that was in San Francisco. You've been to Lolita's Fountain, right?
No, I don't think so.
On Market Street.
There's a couple of fountains there I've been to. Yeah, like
Yeah, so
waterfalls and stuff. Okay.
Lolita was a very, very popular performer
Oh,
back in the era, and Lolita's Fountain is where everybody met after the 1906 earthquake
oh yeah,
and
I've been
fire.
there. I didn't know that was the name. Okay.
Yeah, so she dedicated that, and that fountain, although it's well over 100 years old, um, was her dedication, right? I mean, that was very expensive at that time, but she was very wealthy. So that was her gift to San Francisco and everybody. I think it was after the earthquake. I can't remember. Anyway, or I guess it was before, if that's where people met. Or maybe she put the fountain in after that. Anyway, that's beside the point. Turns out the story that I'm trying to share with you is turns out there was an actor who was having trouble selling tickets. And so he told everybody you would get an acre of land if you bought one ticket to see my show. And sure enough, he bought a lot of land up in Northern California, kind of Russian River area.
Oh,
And people were sure enough they'd get an acre of land. The pro- the problem is the train ticket to go see your and people were buying the land so you could go see the show and then people would buy the land, consolidate plots of land. And turns out the train ticket to go see your plot of land cost more than the value of the land was worth at the time.
yeah,
You also were responsible for property taxes.
yeah.
So by the time you came to see the land and your property taxes, the show costs you more money.
Now, if you hold on to that land by the Russian River, that'll actually be worth something. That's not abandoned out in the desert somewhere. But
No, you're right. You just had to be what, 150 years old,
oh yeah,
120 years old,
yeah,
and you'd be a millionaire.
yeah, yeah.
But you'd have to pay all the property taxes
Well,
for
yeah,
the property over the years. The
yeah,
other one I'll leave you with because I like these fun stories. I'm
yeah.
sure I probably told you this before, but eucalyptus trees
Right,
120, 30 years ago were the cryptocurrency
right.
of the era. And people were planting eucalyptus trees like crazy, selling an acre of land with eucalyptus trees on it, saying in 10 years you'll be unbelievably wealthy. What they
They thought
didn't know
somebody
is,
they thought somebody
oh,
would want eucalyptus lumber or what? I mean, how do you get money out of a eucalyptus tree?
well, because you were built, it was lumber.
Yeah, well,
And,
lumber's
and
weak and not worth much, right?
well, they didn't.
Yeah.
advertise that part of it.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, they catch fire a lot.
Well, they didn't advertise that part of
Yeah.
it. But I'll tell you, if you go behind UCSF,
Oh, yeah.
Adolf Sutro, who was well known in San Francisco, Sutro Baths, he planted over 1 million eucalyptus trees on his property that went out towards the ocean.
Yeah.
And slowly his family sold off all that land, but by that time the trees were pretty good size. And a lot of the housing developments, you had to remove those eucalyptus trees. But there's a grove that's still behind UCSF that's kind of up on a hill that has a very sharp line, a straight edge. That's because that's where the property line was. Those are some of the eucalyptus trees left over that he planted. And he wasn't, I'm not sure if he was trying to make money off of them. He just wanted protection from, he just wanted a wooded area.
Yeah. The advantage of them is they grow fast, but the
Yes.
disadvantage is they catch fire a lot. They also smell good, but turns out they're not as desirable as like an ordinary tree like oak or something.
Yeah, they're totally worthless as lumber.
Yeah.
And they're not great as firewood. They're not so good as
They
firewood.
do tend to catch fire because of all the oil, I think.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. When they're growing,
Yeah.
but if you cut them down, let them season, they're not, is my understanding, that good as firewood.
Right. Right. I
Yeah.
think it'll gunk up
So,
your chimney, among other things.
yeah, yeah, a lot of oils and everything.
Yeah.
So, point being that cryptocurrency schemes have been around for a while. It was eucalyptus trees,
Oh, I
and
remember
I'm
I had a
sure,
chart where I compared this to the tulip mania in the 1600s, and the financial growth was exactly the same. If you plot the price as a number of days since it started, it has the same pattern of this rapid rise and then a crash and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
It's a
yeah,
rule of
yeah,
psychology, when something is the hot new trend, how long does it go before it burns out? This turns out to be kind of a fixed number of just maybe 60 or 90 days before people realize, what is this? I'm paying $1 million for a tulip bulb. Wait a minute, how did I get here?
yeah. And I'll close with this one, Sam. Do you remember the pet rock?
Oh, yeah, same kind of thing.
Yeah, the pet rock was incredibly popular in the probably 70s, late 70s.
Yeah, and then came Beanie Babies, and there's
Well,
all,
wait. Before
yeah,
that, the pet rock, let me
yeah,
finish this.
yeah,
So the pet rock was selling in department stores $10, and it was a box that kind of looked like a zoo cage with a rock in it with
yeah.
some, shredded wood or, bedding material. And so those were really popular. And the person that created that was out of San Jose, California, and he was a marketing expert. And so he thought it would be a good novelty item, and it sold incredibly well. It was very popular. Turns out he lost money on it for all the lawsuits. And I'm going to make some jokes up here, but apparently,
How could there be a lawsuit? What could you possibly claim had been promised to you?
it's been a few years since I've read this, but it was things like my pet rock died. So,
I know,
but
I'm thinking, yeah.
he wound up losing, and
Hmm,
it was a mistake. That whole pet rock, even though he made $6
hmm.
million, is what I recall, in 1970s money,
Yeah.
all the lawsuits resulted in him losing more money, more than $6 million.
Man, I was thinking it was, at least it was honest. I mean, he never pretended it was anything other than a pet rock.
Then a
So
joke.
how could anybody possibly claim that they were deceived to think it was something it wasn't?
And I think other people claim that their pet rock attacked them when somebody threw it at him.
Yeah.
So he then followed up the pet rock the next year with pet rock food. And the food for the pet rock was salt. So he was selling little packets of salt. So that was a 1 year boom and bust. The salt didn't sell well. And then over the next 10 years, he was hit with lawsuit after lawsuit after lawsuit. And he said, what a mistake that was.
Now, see, in the
You know,
modern age, the president would pardon you.
ex- but you're not free of lawsuits, are you? That's
Uh,
criminal.
well, I guess you're right. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
So, sometimes you have a good idea, better leave the country and buy an island and just, disappear into the woodwork so nobody can find you.
yeah. That's one way.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah. And Elon, I will kind of say, has done the other.
yeah, now he's starting to talk about getting out of Doge. I think it's too late to salvage his brand. Boy, I,
Yeah, but you never know. There can be some turnarounds.
maybe.
Yeah,
Boy,
yeah, maybe, maybe,
he's
maybe.
really built up a lot of hatred.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It's interesting that it's hatred against him. And in a way, I'm sure this was not planned out, but I wonder if that was a way of Trump deflecting. And essentially somebody else has taken all the majority of the heat for what Trump's doing.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think
it's
Trump has
it's
got a lot of hatred too.
he is, but there's a fire burning over here, but
Yeah,
hey, there's a bigger fire. Look at that one.
yeah, yeah.
Put
Well,
direct your anger and resources at that one over there. And I think Trump is just kind of sitting back, letting that fire kind of erupt, and we'll see if that burns out or what he's doing. Because
well,
I don't there's been no talk of Trump having any Tesla stock, right?
no,
I've
no,
not heard of that.
no, I don't
So
think so. He's got crypto. He's got his own
yeah, he has
meme coin.
crypto.
Yeah,
Yeah. So
yeah.
Trump doesn't have a financial interest in this, is where I'm going with this.
Well, Tesla, Musk is his number one donor, so he gets his share that way.
Yeah, but Musk has got money coming in from Starlink and
Mostly
rockets.
Tesla. No, apparently Tesla is where almost all his money comes from. And apparently he's
Oh,
borrowed heavily against it to pay for Twitter, which is why he panicked. He basically in tears when he found out stock had fallen to half, because if it falls any more than that, there's going to be a margin call he'll have to pay. It'll destroy him. He's
oh,
borrowed,
oh, I see. I
like
see.
most really rich people, he's leveraged it all. So he's on the edge of ruin.
Yeah. Well, then what's going to happen to Tesla?
They're already talking about having somebody else run Tesla. It would probably be good for Tesla to disassociate from him at some point, but not yet because it's still selling at more than 100 times earnings. And a typical car company only sells at 6 times earnings. So it's wildly overvalued. Still, the presence of Elon Musk like a rock star multiplies its value by more than a factor of 10 still. So
Yeah.
logically, they want to wait for him to fall down a bit more before they throw him out.
Okay. Okay.
Anyway, I guess
All
that
right,
keeps this
Sam,
one.
that's it for me.
Okay.
And but we have no April Fool's jokes, do we?
That suits me. I would never was much into them anyway.
I'm not either.
I
All
saw
right,
somebody on
Sam.
Mastodon that said, when the pandemic hit, we canceled April's Fools, and that was permanent. And I haven't noticed any fake news articles or anything. It seems like it's kind of gone out of fashion.
Hmm. Yeah, interesting.
Uh,
Interesting.
anyway, we'll have another one of these on Friday.
Yeah, sounds good.